Okay people, so we already know the Boruto manga has been on absolute fire. Chapter 48's release yet again upped the stakes even higher, made the threat feel that much more credible, and right now it's looking like a dire situation for Konoha, for all parties involved, because it's just been intense. Kashin Koji, aka Jiraiya clone, couldn't get the job done against Isshiki Otsutsuki. We got Amado over there in the hidden leaf that has been strategizing a lot, and it makes you really wonder exactly what is his take in all of this. Why did he do all of this to begin with, setting up the Kara group and whatnot? And we have a spoiler, a small but pretty big spoiler for chapter 49, and it's ahead of time, but this is definitely going to give us major insight into what to expect for the upcoming chapter, but also what could lead to some very tragic and dire situations. Because remember, the mangaka usually like to make the big 50 or 49. They usually like to do it on the odd numbers. A lot of the times, like, you know, with Naruto, for example, 599 was when Obito's mask came off and stuff like that. So there's a big possibility that 49 could be the big chapter that we've been expecting and not 50. But either way, this spoiler gives me an idea of what could lead to the tragic moments that are coming for the Boruto series. Let's jump into it, baby. Once again, that Boruto manga greatness! I know for a lot of Naruto fans that aren't caught up with the Boruto manga, they like greatness. Yeah, greatness. Go read that shit. Let's do it.
I say we gonna do what we do, no matter how you move, make your move. That's how it be though.
Okay people, so we got a small spoiler for the upcoming chapter of Boruto, chapter 49, the one that drops next month, less than 30 days now. But I gotta say that hands down this manga has been freaking insane. Where we last left off with 48, Isshiki Otsutsuki has arrived in Konoha, and if you really think about it right now, it's like, what the hell are we gonna do? Because Naruto and Sasuke in their last bout against Isshiki Otsutsuki, when he was still rocking the Jougan body, they got bodied. Sasuke had to jump to save his life through a portal. Naruto got sealed away. All sorts of catastrophe happened to them, and he was weakened. He wasn't at his prime. Now, we know that there's a time limit now, so Isshiki is going to be a little bit more swift with his movements. He's going to probably be a little bit more erratic. It leaves open room for mistake because he's desperate, because he knows in 2 or 3 days, it's a wrap for him. So we know that there's room for error on his part, and while, yeah, he's probably closer to his prime, not exactly his prime, because Kawaki's body would be his prime and also the definitive answer to him staying around, he's still not completely at his max. But regardless of what, the two heroes that could actually do anything have shown and proven that they can't do anything. So it's kind of like, well, where do we go with this? Well, let's read this quick spoiler so we could get further into where things more than likely are going to lead with the Boruto series. The Jump back page preview coming up in the next issue, which will drop August 21st in Japan. Their brutal powers will be unveiled. Our heroes will be fighting against the adversaries who stand before them. These enemies will be showing off some intense powers. Boruto chapter 49 preview. Main splash text. Isshiki has a mastery over his overwhelming powers. Boruto will be facing off against him. With a synopsis, having reincarnated through karma, Isshiki is showing off even more of his powers. Boruto and his comrades have acquired intel from Amado. They're heading over to the battlefield in order to defeat Isshiki. Isshiki caption, Otsutsuki Isshiki has manifested from Jougan. So the big thing we got out of that is the fact that Boruto is actually going to be involved in the combat, in the battle, because one of the things that 48 was kind of leaning towards is excluding him from it. Naruto told him, nah, we don't want you involved. You cannot be involved. You're going to be a distraction. You're going to be in the way. You can't be a part of any of this. But based on this preview, he is going to be involved in this, and this is where it's leading me to believe that, to be honest with you, I think one of the big safe havens of stopping a lot of the carnage and destruction of, like, you know, the complete annihilation of Konoha, because there's the possibility that this could be right here the catalyst that leads to the destruction of the village that we see, that was foreshadowed in the very beginning of the story. So this could very well be it. But if Boruto is going to be involved, one of the things that I think is going to be a very pivotal factor in fending off Isshiki from completely killing just everybody and having his way is, I think, karma. One of the things that we've seen, like when Boruto was fighting against Boro, is when he went nuts and Momoshiki took over and he had this astronomical power And I think that there's a possibility, because we've seen what Karma can do. We've seen how OP Karma really is with Kawaki and Boruto, that could be one of the pivotal factors. Again, you got now at that particular point an Otsutsuki power fighting against this monstrous Otsutsuki. And if Boruto, let's just say he wasn't even tapping into the complete capabilities of Momoshiki, like Momoshiki had control but still was limited, if he lets loose completely, a la like a Kurama giving all of his chakra to Naruto type of deal, with Momoshiki giving it to Boruto, then not only do you have Naruto, not only do you have Sasuke, not only do you have the potential involvement of other shinobi in the village, including even Boruto's crew, because Sarada and Mitsuki, they can be pretty useful, but I'm still leaning towards like, come on fam, where's that Rock Lee at? Where's that Mike Guy at? Where's that Kakashi, Tsunade? Like, where, you know what I'm saying, Shikamaru's strategy? Like, there's a lot of people that could still play a part, which makes me think like, I get why Boruto has to be involved. This is called Boruto, for crying out loud, but a part of me is like, oh, does he really need to be involved when we have all these credible? But then again, if Karma has showcased that it can be even stronger than some of the most strongest shinobi around, it's kind of like a cheat code. Let's take it back real quick and once again read over a blurb of text from Sasuke from chapter 48, which leads to what I feel as though this could be foreshadowing of tragedy, but also unlocking other capabilities. Because again, it says Boruto and his comrades. Who exactly are these comrades that he speaks of? I mean, the biggest comrades that he has personally, aside from like the Jonin of the Leaf, would be Mitsuki and Sarada, right? So let's quickly read the Sasuke text and I'll let you know where I'm getting at. Because Sasuke said to Boruto, I'm willing to die at any moment for Konoha, as is Naruto. We're always prepared to do so. What about you? Could you die for the village? And Boruto was a little stunned and didn't know what to say. But those words right there, very, very dark, very, very foreboding, and at the same time also lend to the theories that have been swarming around for years since the inception of the Boruto manga and anime have come to fruition. The fact that there's a possibility Naruto or Sasuke or both could die. And think about it like this. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that they're not going to allow Naruto and Sasuke to die. At best, they will allow us, the readers, to believe they have been killed off, whether it be like Isshiki uses a technique that seemingly Naruto and Sasuke, or Sasuke in particular, because again, he's the one that said that, is seemingly killed. One of the big things that would enable and unlock tremendously, and not only Boruto, because right then and there, his master, one of the people that he looks up to, the most person that he looks up to in the entirety of the story, dying, the Momoshiki, automatically Karma's going to activate and he's going to go absolutely nuts. But also leading into, because again, I would not be surprised if at this particular point 49 or 50 is going to be the conclusion of part 1 of Boruto. And what would be humongous if we led into the next part, if Sarada unlocked Mangekyo, seeing her father die, bearing witness to this, because at the end of the day, she could be involved, right? Boruto and his comrades are going to be involved. Sarada witnessing her father's passing would definitely be that oomph, because we know with the Uchiha, one of the biggest things is their emotion, and something as traumatic as witnessing Sasuke, the father that she loves and adore, be murdered in front of her. That would unlock Mangekyo, and potentially who knows what else could happen at that particular point. I don't think that she's gonna immediately start off like, hey, Sasuke is gonna give her his Rinnegan or some crazy shit like that, but that could definitely unlock her Mangekyo, which would be humongous. Sarada running around with Mangekyo in the time skip, it would be bananas. Because it's safe to say that unless we're going to get a whole bunch of other threats in you know, the time skip or whatever, that Isshiki Otsutsuki is going to be the prominent villain for the remainder of the Boruto story, including the time skip. Again, it could be a swap with Kawaki, because we see that seemingly, unless, you know, Isshiki has had his way at that particular point and he's the one controlling Kawaki in that foreshadowing first part of the story, Isshiki is going to be the main villain, and Sarada having Mangekyo Sharingan would be a big beneficial help in the battle against this monster, or even against Kawaki. I mean, to be honest with you, there's going to have to come to a point where some other villains are going to be involved in all of this. We know it's shown in manga. I hate to like take it out of the element or whatever. There's probably going to be more antagonists that arrive within the second half. It's not just going to be the constant battle of Isshiki versus everybody, whether it be that Isshiki somehow is able to bear fruit to children, whether it's that more Otsutsuki from his clan, maybe the final remnants of his people show up to Earth, something along the lines of that is going to happen. And again, that could make way for some epic and climactic battles. But also that's not completely removing Amado from the situation, because even though he has seemingly been upfront to this point, you know, upon further analysis, I've looked at it as, who's to say that he isn't lying about Shikadai's bomb around his neck? Maybe he's bullshitting them and he's just on some chess, you know, original 4D chess moves, and the bomb around Shikadai's neck is actually real, and he's just bullshitting them, and maybe he's really the grand master of all of this. And there's also Code in the wings as well. So right now, the two villains that we mainly have to focus on is, of course, Isshiki Otsutsuki and Code, because Code hasn't been shown to be a traitor by any means, and again, we don't know. Code is the main villain of all of this, and he's really running the show. I mean, that's one of the things that they've done with the Naruto story constantly, is one person is really above the other that we didn't know, and then there's somebody else pulling the strings on top of that. So for all we know, Amado could really just be one hell of a mastermind, and he's really doing all of this for his own benefit. Maybe, who knows, he wants to be an immortal Otsutsuki, and the only way to accomplish that is like, I gotta get rid of Isshiki Otsutsuki and get some of his DNA so I could do my own dastardly deeds. Like, one of the things, and here is where I might rock you a little bit with it. I've said this many times, and it's been stated by the writers and the people creating this show from early on, is that Boruto was initially meant to be basically a reimagining of the Naruto story. When it came to it and they got the drafts back and everything, they were like, oh, so it's a sequel, but we're still mirroring the first parts of the story, and we're kind of going in that direction. Well, if that would be the case, right, and everything up until this point has been showcasing to be that Isshiki is essentially the Orochimaru of this, Kawaki is the Sasuke, of course Boruto would be the Naruto and whatnot. Well, what if Amado is the Kabuto? Because let's not forget, one big detail is that initially in Naruto Part 1, Kabuto, he started off as like, he was a good guy, we thought, right? We didn't realize he was a traitor until later on a bit into the story. Then we were like, oh shit, he was Orochimaru's right-hand man. He was doing a lot of the things, helping him get from body to body. There's a huge possibility that he could be, for whatever reason, and however he's pulling the wool over our eyes, Amado could be the Kabuto to Ishiki's Orochimaru. Because again, that would be essentially a reimagining, but at the same time still acting as if this story is 100% a straight up sequel. And so as I was editing this video, I had this big brain theory, idea, whatever the heck you want to call it. What if this was all one hell of a chess move from Amado's part, with leaving Kashin Koji to die and tricking even Koji into thinking this was a big rebellion, essentially putting on a show, because they had that Toad there giving the video feedback to Naruto and company of, oh shit, this is a big ruse, and essentially now Amado has infiltrated Konoha. He only has limited access in terms of he has to ask permission from Shikamaru and Naruto, but if he was even fooling Koji into believing, and even that heartless to leave Koji out to die and not giving Naruto the idea of, hey, Koji is actually Jiraiya, like why hide that information? But yet, why base it off of Jiraiya to begin with? Why hasn't he spilled the information of, hey, that guy is actually Jiraiya? Why go through it to begin with? It's possibly because this is all one hell of a ruse, and essentially going back to how Kabuto fooled everybody into thinking he was a good guy and he was actually working with Orochimaru. Amado set up this whole battle with Koji versus Isshiki to make Naruto and them trust him, allow him access to the village, allow him access to be next to Kawaki. I mean, if this guy was sick enough to do these experiments on a little boy Kawaki and go through all of this following Isshiki Otsutsuki, it could very well be because he had a master plan, and this is still all according to plan. And again, he might actually have a bomb on Shikadai's neck, who knows? We could, which I highly doubt, but you never know, see the death of Shikadai, or at the very least, I imagine a moment they take off the bomb from Shikadai's neck, place it somewhere, and somebody, before they could get the information to Naruto and Sasuke, notice that the bomb goes off, and they're like, what the hell is going on? Boom. Amado again, all according to plan. And another big thing that was showcased in the beginning of the story is Boruto having the scar over his eye where he has the Jougan. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the only time we've seen Boruto use any type of ocular powers in the manga, opposed to the anime, was when Momoshiki took over or whatnot. So we still haven't seen that. This could be a huge possibility that Isshiki Otsutsuki is the one that inflicts that scar over Boruto's eye, and somehow he unlocks the Jougan, and moving into the second part, he's just like, basically the training is to use that ocular power and be able to master it, so to speak. So one of the big things that we could get out of these last couple chapters before potentially we get a big time skip, either after 49 or 50, or who knows, it could go even further, but I'm leaning towards this right here is the climax of the first part of Boruto. Isshiki Otsutsuki is the one that stabs Boruto in the eye, unlocking his Jougan eye's full potential, potential and leading into Momoshiki completely taking over, Sarada unlocking Mangekyo Sharingan, Amado potentially flipping and becoming the Kabuto of this story, and disaster striking with Sasuke's potential death or getting sealed away. Because let's be honest here, there is possibility that even if Naruto or Sasuke or both of them were to die, there's still many methods to bring them back to life. Maybe we might not like it, maybe the people of Konoha, maybe Naruto and Sasuke themselves might not like it, but we've seen in prior times that there's two methods that you use in order to revive somebody completely. You use Edo Tensei, and then you gotta use that basically sacrificial jutsu that'll bring them back to complete life, which I believe is the Rene Tensei if I'm not mistaken. So there's a possibility that somebody somewhere in the story, like Orochimaru for example, would be fucked up enough to do that, even though yeah, you would want them back. Like, it's not natural to bring somebody back that way. So it could be a possibility that Sasuke dies, he gets somehow revived, because I'm not ruling out completely that in part 2 Edo Tensei won't return, make its way back, and who knows, because that'll open up a whole other door. Madara, Uchiha, if Naruto or Sasuke or both of them die, being revived via Edo Tensei. Like, there's so many possibilities, but it seems as though if Boruto is going to be involved, and this is going to be one hell of a climax to put Isshiki down, a lot of this stuff is going to go down. And of course, also, like I've said in the past, Kawaki, more than likely after a hell of destruction goes down, and possibly to spare Naruto's life or to spare the village to do what the 7th Hokage would have wanted, will eventually willingly go with Isshiki, again similar to Sasuke willingly going to Orochimaru. But then I'm also thinking, wait a minute, what if there's a possibility that if we're mirroring stuff, right, I'm just saying for thought's sake, we get a Boruto versus Kawaki part 1 somehow, some way. Maybe Isshiki says, oh, you really gonna listen to me and no more BS? Prove it to me. Go fight this kid right now. I'm gonna be waiting in the wings watching. Or if you manage to defeat this kid, then I know you're not gonna pull any more bullshit and you're gonna follow me and allow me to put the karma mark and continue on. Again, not only would that mirror things, but that would make sense if Isshiki is like, yo, you want me to spare everyone? It's a little bit more difficult this time. Last time I was cool with it, alright, you know, whatever, we can go, and they stopped me. This time around, I want to know that you're really serious and you're not going to put me through any more bullshit, especially when I have only 2 or 3 days left to live and you're playing games with me. Or Boruto could even try to stop Kawaki, like, yo, you're not going with him, and Kawaki, due to his allegiance, his alliance, or his guilt and just everything that he wants to do for the 7th Hokage, Naruto, gets into it with him and they get into a quick bout or a very big bout, whatever the case may be. Either way, a lot of humongous stuff I foresee going down within these next 2 chapters. Again, potentially leading into the big time skip, potentially leading into Boruto activating his Jougan, getting that scar. Who knows, maybe it could be that scar is inflicted by him trying to stop Kawaki from going off with Isshiki, and Kawaki hits him with something and is like, oh damn. But I'm very curious what you guys think of all this. For starters, do you think that Sasuke was foreshadowing his death with that last chapter 48? Also with Boruto being confirmed that he's going to be involved in the battle, you think that this is going to be where he gets the scar over his eye? You think we're going to see a Boruto versus Kawaki part 1 similar to a Naruto versus Sasuke part 1 battle? You think Amado could be playing some 4D chess and he is actually like the Kabuto of this story, and he's just waiting and biding his time because he feels as though like the shinobi of Konoha are unstoppable? We got to remember too that Amado has a lot of science to him. One of the things that really wasn't explored much was when he was leaving the lair, Kashin Koji told him something along the lines of, that's all you're taking with you? And he said, yeah, I got the cell data, pretty much I got everything that I need regarding, like, you know, the schematics and whatnot. What was he talking about there? It could be to create a whole new army of, you know, Kara members, or recreate all sorts of shinobi. Who the hell knows what he has at his arsenal? And again, it could be that Shikadai really has a bot. Like, yo, that would right there really set shit off in a bang, with tragedy and all, if Shikadai died at the end of part 1. I doubt they would go that dark, especially considering the anime is really kiddo zone, but you never know. And your overall thoughts and expectations for the future of the Boruto manga with 49 and beyond. Do you think 49 and 50 are going to be the climax and the end of part 1? I just want to throw this in there. If they do end and give us all of this incredible stuff leading into a part 2, this is kind of outside of the realms of the story, I would love for them to put Boruto Shippuden, or whatever the heck they're gonna call this second part, assuming that they're gonna go full length with it. Put that shit in Shonen Jump. Give us a weekly Boruto manga. Like, yo, Boruto with this level of writing, this amazingness in a weekly magazine would take off beyond belief. Like, I'm just saying. Also, it would help to, well, not that part in particular, but giving a time skip would help the anime, because they love to give us original stuff, and they could do like like endless episodes, because we're more invested in the manga anyway, of like, hey, they're training before the Boruto Shippuden story and shit like that. So yeah, your overall thoughts and expectations. Is Sarada going to unlock the Mangekyo if she witnesses her father die? Is Momoshiki gonna take over Jougan? So many things. This is crazy. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy. Have an awesome day. Peace in, and yo, Boruto, insane shit is going down.
It's nights like this, and times like this,
What's that?
that I can give another hit. But I've got this inside a switch, a natural bliss. But